Hello.
G'day, Matt. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Excellent, I can hear you. Have you got started your video there?
What do I do?
It should be.
Oh, just press start video.
Yeah, it should be down the bottom.
There we go.
Awesome. Nice. That's a good setting.
always got the posters in the back.
Yeah, nice. Well, in the podcast down below you, there's the new website, and and there's also I've put a link to it as well. So yeah, if anyone does see it, they can jump in and go to there. So
nice.
Yeah. So how you been? How's everything? Life of the corona?
Oh, mate, we're at that point where I can't wait for tomorrow when the kids go back to school. Man, those teachers are saints, aren't they?
Yeah. So you've been obviously teaching. How old are the kiddos?
So the 3-year-old is obviously just at daycare, but the 7-year-old, so he's in grade 2 now. So I'm having to learn like what a noun is again, and an adjective, and super pronoun or something like that. So yeah, it's one of those things you spend the last 10 years saying, what do we need all this stuff for?
Yeah.
We'll come back to me now. So yeah.
And the maths is completely different as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we're pretty lucky. They've only just been doing like multiple timetables and stuff, so no division or anything like that. So
yeah,
I've gotten away with that stuff.
I'd be rooted if that was the case. Awesome. Well, obviously we're starting. This is the first of them of the series, the What Do You Fight For series. Basically, sort of set it up because I know a lot of people in the industry. In the fight game, and and I'm really keen to sort of learn more about you and everyone in the game, where everyone sort of comes from. So yeah. So well, if you wanted to introduce yourself, well, Matt is the XFC promoter or the owner of. What's going on in the world of XFC?
Obviously, mate, yeah, we're like the rest of the world. We're kind of shut down at the moment. We had a cracking show booked in XFC 44 on the 28th of March.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it.
A really good show lined up in New Zealand the week after. And yeah, unfortunately, both of those shows got cancelled before. We did everything we could. We tried to hold off for as long as we could. We tried dropping our crowd, which would have been around 1,200 people, down to 500. Then down to 100, then down to 30.
Yeah.
Then we tried to do an online gig, and yeah, literally once everything was closed down, we just kind of had to, get a little bit upset and sulk and carry on and cry a little bit. But it is what it is. So yeah, at the moment we're kind of on hold. We've got a full show ready to go.
Yeah, nice.
We just need a date.
Yeah.
And that's the other tricky part. We know when gyms are kind of going back.
Yep.
But we still don't know when 1,000+ people can join the same room yet.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Again, we're really just stuck with our hands tied at the moment.
And you guys were pretty XFC was pretty, flexible when all that was going down. It was like, here's a new restriction in place. This is what you guys are doing.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. There's 3 business partners, and every minute we were all over it. And unfortunately, it would be at 11 o'clock. And I'd send an email to the group saying, look, this is our plan A, B, and C. And we'd all agree on it. And then 11:45 would come around and ScoMo would jump up and say something else. All of a sudden, those 3 plans were non-existent. They meant nothing. So we probably got up to plan Z. We just kept rolling with the punches. And it got to a point where it was completely out of our control. So we kind of we just had to accept it.
Yeah, fair enough. And so you've already got a card ready to go, people that fights as well, or?
Yeah, definitely. So we had 13 fights on the last card. We've been in contact with all of those gyms and fighters, and 12 of those fights are still going ahead.
Far out, that's awesome.
One of those fights has had more time to diagnose the fight and his opponent. He wants to go a different direction. But we were really lucky in that division. We had multiple options for those fighters, so we'll be able to piece them up anyway. So yeah, we're still looking at 13 fights that are ready to go right now.
Yeah, cool.
And the New Zealand card again. New Zealand card's already booked in as well.
Yeah, see, anyone that you can, well, anyone that is known that's on that card that you can let go, or
For New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Brogan Anderson's our main guy in New Zealand. Apart from Matt Bale. Matt Bale's our number one. Matt Bale, I think, is the best fighter in Australia. In terms of active fighters right now, Matt hopefully will be back very, very soon. But yeah, in terms of our Dunedin card, Brogan Anderson is the big ticket seller there. He's the big guy, the hot shot in town down at Dunedin there. So we invest all of our time and money into him.
Yep.
We were really lucky. We got reached out by Priscus Foganolo's team. Priscus is basically this monster of a brown belt that no one wants to touch. Can't get fights anywhere.
Yeah.
So, when we took the show back, he was looking for a fight and no one could get him. I kind of took that as a bit of a challenge and was lucky enough to be able to score him a deal with Brogan Anderson. So those guys will be fighting for the XFC middleweight title as soon as XFC New Zealand's up and running.
Yeah, cool. And who's the headliner for that? Is that him?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, definitely. Those boys are the toughest middleweights getting around at the moment. So yeah, those boys are going to be the headline for that event.
Yeah, sick. And I know that there's no actual date, but do you reckon? Have you got an idea? Is it sort of? Are we looking August, September, or are we looking November, December?
So from what we're reading in terms of what the government's saying is that around mid-July is when gyms can go back to full contact training.
Yep.
We've spoken to the gyms and the fighters, and they're all asking for roughly 6 to 8 weeks for a fight camp. Sorry. So that kind of puts us mid-September for an XFC event in Brisbane.
Yep.
And again, we got to remember that that's like a penciled-in date, because even though that gives us 2 months, again, Scott Morrison could stand and say, no, we're still not ready for gatherings over 500 until 2021, maybe. So it could be one of those things where we just got to kind of keep rolling with the punches and pushing dates back and back.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the moment, we're looking for Brisbane around mid-September. And again, Matt Toa, our general manager in Dillon, is kind of keeping an eye on restrictions in New Zealand to give us a date there.
Yeah, cool. And I've, as I mentioned, I've got the new website sitting down in the bottom of the screen. So you've been doing quite a bit of background stuff, which is really cool. Let us know what's going on there.
Yeah, you got to stay busy, So as much as it sucks that we weren't allowed to run fights and promote and all that sort of stuff, the business has to keep running. So we were there were a bunch of jobs that we wanted to do that we were just too flat out to do while we were promoting shows.
Yep.
So things like building the website, building ticket systems, promotional things. It really gave us the time to kind of sit down and take our time and get those things right.
Yeah, cool.
So we kind of had a website, but it was really just a ticketing system, that kind of had like a fake front page. So we're really happy now that we've spent some time to actually get a proper website.
Yep.
We can, really promote our fighters and promote a Hall of Fame type system, or really drive some traffic to our website. So I spent a bit of time, a year or two, with an incredible business consultant called Jade Weller. So she runs Jade Start, and the one tip that she gave us when she looked at our business is that if Facebook doors tomorrow.
Okay, so I'm just jumping in here. I actually, it's the next day. I'm doing a bit of editing. At this point in the interview, I noticed that there was some lag happening with my computer, so I started to close down some tabs. And in typical me fashion, I instead of closing a particular tab, I ended up minimizing it, and just as it started playing, so this YouTube video about barbecuing starts playing, and talking about some bacony goodness. And while this is happening, Matt ended up explaining that the XFC had begun to diversify their advertising, and some of the stuff was from me personally. He was actually giving me props, which was awesome. But what I did is went and asked him about what he said, because basically I didn't want to put anything in his any words in his mouth. But during this time, you can barely hear it. I'll put the fuck up at the end of the video, so you can hear how ridiculous it sounds with this music happening, and it's all about barbecue, but Matt's still talking. But basically, he said, if Facebook closed their doors tomorrow, what would our business look like? He was talking about Jade and Jade's Start, I think it was. And so he said, if Facebook closed their doors tomorrow, what would our business look like? And mate, I feel like 95% of our promotion work and advertising was on Facebook. We had to come up with some other alternatives, and obviously the website is one of those, and jumping into commercials and radio. And he said, you yourself, meaning me, have been instrumental in our online presence, so we're really lucky to have people like yourself and Jade around us. So that's what he actually said. You'll hear the fuck up at the end of the video. I've actually cut it out, just so that you can get this explanation. I then I put our Facebook conversation relating to that in the video. You can see it down the bottom. That's why it's sitting there. But yeah, he was giving me props. I'm going to let this continue again, because it is a really, really great podcast.
Yeah,
You're
so
going to need
we're
some
really
steak
lucky
for
that we've
this.
got people like yourself and Jade around us as well that's pointed us in those directions as well. So really appreciated that.
Yeah, cool. I just had a bit of a technical issue there, a little bit. Hopefully it didn't overtake it too much. Sorry about that.
Oh man, I just dropped some incredible knowledge too. So hopefully you guys didn't miss out on that. I just gave my whole business. That's still in the video.
Yeah. I might actually have to get you to just do a little bit of a response there. Yeah. Sorry, mate. It dropped out completely. So hang on, I'm sweating a bit. Yeah. So like, you've got a whole heap of stuff coming up. Obviously, the digital strategy's underway, and you've got things in the works. So like you've had a bit of a big couple of years as well in the past. We've had a chat about this on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you reckon your biggest, obviously other than the coronavirus, what do you reckon the biggest challenge has been since you've started with XFC, or since you bought it?
Yeah, we've been really lucky with XFC that the business that we bought had incredible momentum.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was such a massive name. It had so many wins under their belt that, funnily enough, if I was speaking personally and candid here, I'd almost kind of say that's been one of our biggest challenges.
Mm-hmm.
You know, following in the footsteps of Justin Lawrence and the example that he would set, and the crowds that he would sell out, and the fights that he would put on, to kind of take on XFC. Even though I was a part of XFC for 7 or 8, 9 shows,
Mm-hmm.
I was only really working out the back and kind of shadowing Justin and watching what he was doing and studying what he does. You know, to literally grab the reins of it and just to jump into the deep end was a really strong lesson to learn quickly.
Yep.
And like I said, Justin would completely sell out, where he would be telling people 3 weeks out from the show that there's no more spots left. You know, so to kind of walk into a venue and to see one seat without somebody sitting on it would absolutely crush me and destroy me. You know, because I was thinking, geez, you know, how come I haven't filled that?
Yeah.
Even though all 1,199 seats were full, I would kind of feel like that was a bit of a failure, that there was one seat left in the crowd and that everyone was looking at that one seat saying, "Oh my God, Matt's a failure." That's been the toughest challenge, is to kind of go on my own path, sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
but also following Justin's footsteps. And I'm not sure if I worded that correctly, you know, but yeah, having Justin as a mentor has really helped, though.
Yeah, awesome.
I don't think there's ever been a time where he hasn't answered my call or hasn't sent me a million text messages or emails just to kind of make sure I'm on the right path. But also mentally, you know, Justin has been phenomenal about that.
Yeah, cool.
He can tell when I've been burnt out,
Mm-hmm.
and it could just be something as simple as just a quick message or an invite out to lunch to talk me down off that cliff quite a few times. So yeah, really appreciated Justin's involvement in XFC since we've taken it over as well.
Yeah, cool, cool. Well, hopefully I can get Justin on the podcast as well at
Oh,
some
100%.
stage.
Yeah, he's got a million stories.
Yeah, definitely. And so I mean, what do you reckon his biggest lesson has been for you?
Just be in the moment.
Yep.
You know, just whenever you're faced with a challenge, one of my biggest issues is that I get a challenge and I want to act on it straight away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very emotional, but very passionate as well. So when I see something, I just want to nip it in the bud straight away and find a solution. Whereas Justin is more prepared to kind of sit back, delve with the situation, kind of see what the long-term implications are of that issue,
Mm-hmm.
and whether or not you actually need to focus your time on it right now. You know, so Justin would always say things like, "This is what you need to do, Matt, and if I was you, I would have done it yesterday."
Yeah, okay.
And I'm like, okay, that's Justin telling me that I've got something to do and it's really important. When there are other things too, where fighters might be causing an issue and contractually, and again, he will turn around and say, well, right now you've got a show to plan for. He's not on that show. Right now, we don't have people banging on the door to fight that person or to claim that belt. So you don't need to concentrate on that right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, put that in the bag, get the show over and done with, and then focus on that. So definitely, I would say that's the biggest lessons that I've learned from Justin.
Yep. What do you reckon the with fighters, like what's the, from your perspective and even Justin's, but from your perspective, what do you reckon the biggest issue that you come across with fighters? Is it, you know, weight cuts or what?
You know, it's so many things of everything, and I'm going to sound like I'm a massive sook right now, and I'm in the wrong sort of industry, but I don't know. I think we need to remember too that it's XFC and it's not the UFC.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes I think that when their phone rings or they get a message in their phone and it's from Matt from XFC or Brian from XFC, Brian Ebersole, that they drop everything and that's their main priority.
Yeah.
Because I live and breathe XFC,
Mm-hmm.
and I sometimes forget that they don't. You know, that they've got full-time jobs and they've got training, they've got families and kids and all that stuff as well. So I don't know. We really need to kind of work together and understand that a lot goes into running these shows.
Yeah, for sure.
So if we sign a fighter, then I believe that within 24 hours, we should have that fighter's photos and email addresses and contact details so that we can stay up to date and create posters and, you know, get all the marketing out there as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas, like I said, we might match a fighter and it could take them 3 weeks, 4 weeks to get photos back to us so that we can do a poster for them.
Mm.
So 1 minute, oh, let me just get a haircut. And all of a sudden they go to training that night and they get a black eye. And then all of a sudden it's, well, I can't get a photo now. I've got a black eye. You've got to give me 2 weeks to get that photo. Like things like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, we try and work with managers a lot to say that, look, if you've got a group of fighters, then the first day of every month is photo time.
Yeah.
You know, you want them to send through updated photos.
Yeah.
We've got a really strong database right now. So we've got everyone's emails and phone numbers and all that sort of stuff as well. So getting in contact with them is pretty easy.
Yep.
But yeah, as I said, the question about, you know, what's the biggest challenges, it's everything.
Yeah.
You know, so and like I said, there are a lot of shows right now. You know, everyone wants to think they're a promoter and it's easy.
Yep.
You just need a cage and a venue and people just all of a sudden turn up and it happens for them.
Yep.
It's not the case. So there's a bunch of other shows at the moment that kind of take people's attention away from other
The number one
successful shows and number one. So you kind of want to sit back and say, like, guys, we've got a proven formula here.
Yeah.
Let's not let somebody dangle a carrot in front of us and pretend that they're going to offer you the world.
Yep.
When we've all seen that they've kind of gone off in their own direction. So yeah, sometimes we kind of need to just put those blinkers on
Mm-hmm.
and say, guys, look, we've got a proven formula here. And there are other great shows that can offer that as well. You know, Eternal are doing some phenomenal things right now. Coastal Combat, we absolutely love Coastal Combat. Beast Championships up in Gladstone.
Yep.
You know, if everyone kind of stays in their lane, MMA in Queensland and Australia will be really, really successful.
Yeah, cool. And I think with our discussions, and you know, we've had a chat about your ideas for the website. Some of the issues with the fighters is going to be, I suppose, minimised because you'll have such a good digital method of getting them onboarded and, you know, through the process. So
yeah, that's right. One of my favorite babies is now that we've got the website. Before we actually built the website, we built the XFC Fighter app,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my absolute baby. I loved it. So from there, whenever a fighter would ask me questions, I would just send them to the app.
Yep.
Because it had the fight night details, the weigh-in details. They could download the medical documents there. They could answer their commentating questions on that app. Basically, it had the rules there. Anything that they would need to know was on that app.
Yeah, that's cool.
We've been able to kind of infiltrate that website and move it across to our just normal website now as well. So again, a small little task that we had to do with that app was people had to log in and sign up with a username and password. And unfortunately for half of the fighters, that step of logging in and signing up was too difficult. So we've gone across to our website now where it's literally just an open forum.
Yep.
And anyone can access that information. So, and we don't mind that anyone has that information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's promoting is pretty much 101. It is pretty straightforward.
Yep.
But you've still got to have the ability to do it. So we don't care if people can see what we're doing behind the scenes. We're happy to have a transparent business model.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I suppose when you do have such a good relationship with those other promotions, it benefits everyone as a, you know, the connections that you can form from that and sharing information works.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that some people sort of think that promoting is easy. So like, what do you reckon the hardest part is?
Geez, the hardest part. It's all kind of just gluing it all together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so a lot of people think that if they become a promoter, then they instantly just become Dana White. Like I'm going to be the Dana White guy, where I travel the world and, you know, get to sit next to the ring girls and just watch the fights and tell people what to do.
Yeah.
When you're a regional promoter, you are everybody. You know, Dana White's lucky; he's got hundreds of staff members.
Mm-hmm.
Think about a regional promoter, you are those 300 staff members.
Yeah, true.
You know, so every single day I'm on the phone sending messages to website guys, to the venue, with my business partners. Well, I'm not going to take all the glory. But even as a regional promoter, you're the valet. You know, you go and pick up the guys from the airport, you drop them off, you're booking the hotels, you're organising the tickets. You need to do every single job as a regional promoter.
Yep.
And I think some promoters who want to join the game think that somebody else will do that for them.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that's the toughest part, is to kind of juggle it all together, but also keep a job yourself. You know, employment outside of this, keep family happy, keep your kids happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could very, very easily spend 20 hours a day on XFC 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you've got to kind of step back from that and realise that the wife needs help with the kids, and I've still got to go to work, and I've still got to juggle a life as well outside of XFC.
Yeah, yeah. And what would you say the best / easiest thing is that people would think would be hard?
The easiest part is probably getting Facebook friend requests. And the free likes on Facebook. You know, you'll put up any status and you'll get 100 likes, and you kind of look down the list and say, well, hang on, 90% of these guys didn't even wish me a happy birthday. So it's kind of like that strange sort of fake popularity or fake, I don't know, existence that you're somebody, you know what I mean? But really are not. They're either just looking for a free ticket or it's cool. You know, MMA is cool to be around, you know, so that's the easiest part, is the easy popularity that kind of comes with it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And being wanted. That's always nice to be wanted. Other than that, you know, like the easy part is when a fight gets matched and you realize that you get to watch that fight.
Yeah.
You know, once it's all done and dusted, the only enjoyable part about being a promoter is those 4 hours when the actual fights start, and you kind of get to sit back and think, cool, everyone's here, everyone's enjoying themselves, they've got a drink, and people are smiling and cheering and clapping. So that's the enjoyable part, is actually sit back and really enjoy those last 4 hours when the fights start.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the background with you and sort of seen all the movements and all that kind of thing, and yeah, it's when you do finally, you know, get the opportunity to sit back and have a look. It must be like looking over a bit of your own artwork sort of thing.
Yeah, it definitely is, especially when you see the commercials or the videos or the hype videos that play before fights and after fights, and when you see just boys running around doing their part, like the Steiner brothers, for example, they've been at our show working out cage doors forever.
Yeah.
Even when you just look across and you see those boys enjoying themselves, and a fight finishes and you don't even have to say anything. They just jump up and grab a medal, and the ring girl grabs what she needs, and it just flawlessly runs. You're like, this is really enjoyable. You know, like everyone's playing their role. Everyone's happy to be here. And again, talking to the fighters and the coaches outside, out the back, and it's, I said the 4 hours, like if the fights go 4 hours, we really only enjoy about 2.5 hours of it because we're still stressed for the first hour and a half when the fights start. But yeah, it's a eurythmic kind of feeling where it's not an out of body experience, but it's just relief, you know, and it's funny that we get relief out of watching people get punched in yeah, it is. It's when you're watching your own sort of work finally come together.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty special moment.
Yeah, sick. And like, well, what got you? I mean, we spoke about what the easiest and hardest thing. What actually sort of got you into it? Because, you know, I imagine you started training and that sort of thing. But what was the driver to do the actual promoting?
The honest story, the driver that got me into promoting was probably about 10 beers. I was spending a lot of time with Justin in terms of messaging back and forth when he was promoting. And then we were out with my business partner, Dan, my best mate, and having dinner and a couple of beers and a couple of drinks, and we were pretty happy at the time. And Justin wrote me a message, and he basically said, I'm out. I'm selling the business. Just thought I'd let you know. And then, yeah, just as I said, I had the beer courage with my best mate, Dan. I said, mate, I think this is something that we could do, you know. So, and then, yeah, I replied to Justin straight away. I think the wife thought I was joking when I said I was going to buy the business, but yeah, a couple of days later, we really got into some serious conversations and we made it happen.
Yeah, nice.
And again, I wouldn't have done it for any other show.
Yeah.
You know, so not that I was working with many other shows, but, you know, I was working with Rise and, you know, I'd been to a bunch of Eternals and I was really enjoying the MMA scene. But again, there was just something about XFC. There was just a passion for XFC. And so, yeah, when that business came up, I jumped at the chance, and I was pretty busy again at the time. You know, I was running my own real estate office. Had heaps of other things going on at the time. But yeah, I just kind of saw a couple of things that I would have done differently. You know, Justin was very hands-on, manual, and he could afford to do that because he had 1,200 friends that he could message individually and sell 1,200 tickets individually. Whereas I was coming into the industry having trained for a few years, but not having that database. So I had to change things a little bit differently and approach things a little bit differently because I didn't have Justin's network. So yeah, I kind of thought that we could have moved to slightly like a more digital kind of platform, more automotive sort of thing, and more transparent. You know, Justin really wanted to keep everything close to himself, whereas I was more happy to just to kind of let it all out there and roll with the punches that way.
Yeah, cool. Are you still, like you mentioned that you were in real estate back then, had your own business, but is it still the same or like?
No, so mate, I've done a complete backflip. So I made the decision after about 3 or 4 shows that I either wanted to be a real estate agent or I wanted to be a promoter. And financially wise, it was definitely much smarter to stay in real estate. But I kind of just sat back and realized that in 50 years time, you know, this is all cliche, you know, in 50 years time on my deathbed, I want to say that I worked for a living, selling houses, which was enjoyable, but it's
a slog.
Tedious. That's right. It was a slog. Or do I want to do something where, like even now, when people ask me what I do, the reactions that I get is just insane. You know, like to say that I pay people to jump in a cage and bash each other and fight. There's probably 10 people in the country that get to say that.
Yeah.
You know? So that's pretty special to me that I made that choice to kind of do something that was fun.
Yeah.
And then I knew that if it didn't work out, that I could always go back to selling houses or in sales somehow. So yeah, so probably a couple of years in, a year in, I left real estate.
Yep.
And funnily enough, now I'm actually just working part-time in prisons. So I'm a prison officer.
Yeah, right.
Again, that was just another passion of mine. That living in Brisbane, you'd always drive past Wacol and I'd see those cars doing the patrols around the jails, and I thought, how cool would that be for a job? I love watching the prison documentaries on Netflix and TV. So Damien Brown told me about their roster and their working hours, and mate, I do 2-3 shifts a week, which still leaves me 4 or 5 days a week to get stuck into XFC.
Yep.
And again, I absolutely love my job as a prison officer, and and every now and then it's good if I can't get to training, then there's always a chance for a wrestle at work as well.
Well, that I was going to ask what your dream profession is, but I think you've answered that pretty succinctly.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, like funny enough, the dream position would be police. So I'd love to be a police officer.
Yeah, okay.
I did work experience as police in grade 11 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, when I was in grade 12, I did the silly thing and bought the world's fastest car in a VL Commodore.
Yep.
And then probably racked up a couple of speeding infringements. So still trying to average out my speeding fines per years that I've been driving, and then I might have a crack at the police one day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how old are you at the moment?
36.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I actually lived with a bloke who, he was like 37, I think, when he entered the force.
Yeah.
So you must have racked up a few speeding fines.
Maybe I'm hoping that maybe when I'm around 40, I'll tick that box, that age demographic box that they're looking for, the 40-year-olds, because at the moment a straight white male in his 30s isn't exactly what the police are after. Unless I'm going to become gay or Aboriginal, unfortunately, my chances of jumping in the police force are not very good at the moment.
You don't meet the diversity quota.
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome. So, I suppose one of the main things about this podcast was talking about what is it about you that got you into fighting. So, what got you into training? How did you start? Was it because you wanted to be a cop?
I had a mate, Bo Devlin, that how you've got a bunch of different mates and you've all kind of got a different connection with those mates. Well, my friend Bo Devlin was the first guy to introduce me into the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a massive Randy Couture fan, especially when it was the Randy versus Chuck kind of trilogy that was going on. And I really just started watching the UFC like once every 3 months whenever I go around to his house. So from there, we came up with our own wrestling moves and our own fighting moves, and we really thought we were ultimate fighters. And then again, just I think when the Ultimate Fighter 1 came around and everyone started watching that,
mm-hmm.
same thing, I jumped on that Ultimate Fighter 1 sort of bandwagon.
Yep.
And I actually remember the day almost specifically where I was. I was showing these people that I worked with these videos, and people started asking me, like, you've got a bit of a cheeky mouth on you, and can you fight? You know what I mean? Like, if anyone calls you on one of your bluffs, can you actually handle yourself? And I kind of sat back and I thought, actually I can't. I've never thrown a punch. I've never wrestled with anyone. And I kind of realized that if I'm going to appreciate the UFC so much, and I should probably jump in there and kind of see what it's like and that sort of stuff. So, I started training at Martial Arts Queensland in Toowong.
Yep.
So I was there for a couple of years. I found that Martial Arts Queensland was an incredible gym,
mm-hmm.
But even when I was 6 foot tall and 85 kilos, I was almost twice the size of anybody else that trained there.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to look for another gym where people were more my size.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just trained with friends and open mats for a year or two after that. Funnily enough, the memory for that popped up on my Facebook the other day that had been 10 years since that memory where I was trying to invite people to those open mats, which is pretty cool.
Was that out at Ipswich? Is that the...
That was.
Yeah.
The Ipswich Mall.
So B Dag or Ben, so I've started training with him recently.
Yeah.
And it was just interesting to see him come up on your feed from this 10 years ago thing. So that's cool.
It was such good days back then. You know what I mean? It was, we were learning technique a little bit, but it was more literally just jumping in there and rolling and wrestling and trying to bash the shit out of it. Fun. So even cool stories. I remember one time that we were at a pub at Ipswich where we were training. So, and I remember the manager saying that, guys, you can train here, so move the tables to the side and put your mats down.
Mm-hmm.
But if anyone starts turning up to drink, then I'm sorry, we've got to cancel it. And these mats were about 5-minute walk away.
Yeah.
We were carrying these judo mats one by one, and it probably took us about 40 minutes to an hour to lay these mats down. And as soon as we stand on the mats, guess what happened?
Someone comes in.
2 blokes walk in trying to drink, and all of a sudden, we had to pick these mats straight back up again. So the fact that we've got gyms now specifically with the mats already down on the floor and we don't have to move them, we were pretty happy about that. So, so it kind of went from there. And funnily enough, the reason why I enjoyed the open mat so much is I'm a bit autistic in that I can't watch somebody doing a technique and just pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're showing me something in boxing, I can't watch you front on. Like I can't see it backwards.
Mm-hmm.
I've almost got to stand side by side with the person and kind of watch what they're doing in front of me.
Yeah.
I went to a seminar where Vince Perry ran it down at Puma, and the way that he dissected every single move, it's like, okay, step 1, we do this. Step 2, we do this. Step 3.
Yep.
And then ever since I went to that seminar, I can watch people now opposite.
All right.
I'm not actually watching what they're doing. I'm breaking it down myself, saying, okay, step 1 was this, step 2 was that, step 3 was that. So,
do you reckon that comes with experience though, or do you reckon it's just a as you say, an autistic thing?
Yeah, probably. I think I'm on the spectrum, mate. I'm probably there somehow. So, like again, self-diagnosed. But yeah, so I don't know. It's just, and again, I'm more. But then again, there's 3 or 4 different ways you can learn as a human, isn't there? There's you can watch it, you can do it, you can talk it, that sort of thing. So I might be more of a doer rather than watching somebody do something.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where he probably made me convert watching somebody to actually doing something. So,
yeah.
And then for a good 6, 7, 8 years, I was training with Infinity Martial Arts with Shannon Landy. And again, just the way that he spoke and the way that he broke things down really allowed me to really enjoy my jiu-jitsu and that sort of stuff. And then, the last couple of months, last year actually, I've been doing a little bit of boxing and really enjoyed the science of boxing. To go from hating boxing to now understanding what boxing is, I've really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah, cool. And like during this time off, have you been doing, the corona issues, the pandemic, have you been training much? Have you been doing any clandestine? I've seen quite a few clandestine meetings, but any boxing, like anything like that?
Yeah, no, I've been pretty well behaved with the jiu-jitsu. I haven't been rolling with anybody. I have been doing a little bit of boxing in the break. Nothing official with any professional trainers, but it's almost like a fight club. So I'm about to break rule number 1 right now, but just on a local Facebook page that I was on, this bloke writes a comment saying, is there anyone keen to meet me in the park and spar?
Yeah, nice.
And I was like, you know what, it's been a while since I've been punched in the face and hit somebody. Say, yeah, mate. So I messaged him, and so I've been lucky enough to meet him a couple of times in the local park down the road, and we've watched the random strangers look at us weirdly while the couple of grown men chuck some gloves and a headgear on and punch each other for fun. So that's as much as I've done. But really, really motivated. I know every second person on the couch is saying this right now, but really motivated once this lockdown's over to jump back into a gym. And
for sure.
I want my brown belt, mate. I've had a purple for 4 odd years now, I think.
Yeah.
So I really want to get back on the mats and go back up to Shannon and tap on his shoulder and say, hey, mate, look, my goal is brown belt. What have we got to do to get there?
Yeah. I mean, I'm 6 years now of blue. 3 years at the 4 stripe. So
stripes on
yeah. Probably. I'm the same. I want to be back on the mats. And just before it all hit as well, I was hitting. I was doing a bit of boxing myself. So, and I was kind of lucky because my girlfriend, she's an actual boxer. Like, been doing it for years and years and years. And so we've had the dual luck of being able to do a bit of pad work in the backyard and also do a little bit of jiu-jitsu when we've got the afternoons. Got a few internet things going on and with Infinity as well. So it's been really good.
Yeah, I've been surprised just how much I've enjoyed boxing. Again, I hated boxing. I used to think it was so boring. Lucky enough too, I've had some really amazing coaches. Like Ian Jacobs, one of the greatest kickboxers of all time. But even David Chan, like the stuff that I've learned training with David Chan has absolutely blown me away from thinking that, like I said, boxing was so one-dimensional to just how many layers are involved in boxing. And again, that's just testament to how good the local scene is, that David Chan, who's had 3 or 4 MMA fights, a handful of boxing fights, can just absolutely blow anyone away and prove that you have got no idea how to throw a punch. This is how you do it. So kind of a little embarrassed that I was 35 years old before I realised how to actually throw a proper punch. So really enjoying the boxing side of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm similar. I thought the same about fighting, about boxing. It's sort of, 1, 2, 3s. It's fairly simplistic, and then to realise just how much depth it has is just crazy.
I even trained with Matt Tolley, our New Zealand general manager, and he is that in depth into holding pads that he would know if I was even clenching my fists inside my blocking gloves while he was holding his pads. Like, he just had that feel, and he could tell what his student was doing.
Yeah.
Just blew me away that, as I said, there was so much detail. And
there's even an awesome science behind holding pads that, you can tell someone who's a awesome pad holder versus someone who's, got zero experience. And
mate, I am rubbish. My 7-year-old gets cranky with me when I'm holding pads. And to make it even worse, I'm actually spending some time with the young kid right now, doing a bit of boxing and training with him.
Yeah.
And now he's southpaw, so I struggle enough holding pads
for
orthodox.
Yeah.
And now I've got to hold pads for someone that's southpaw.
Yeah. I think that was the one thing that that works in my favour with holding pads. I'm not saying I'm awesome or anything, but I'm southpaw, and so everyone, I've not only had to learn how to, because you primarily do orthodox pad holding, but then I've had to think of how to teach someone how to hold pads for a southpaw.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. So what are you working on at the moment? What's your favourite technique?
Like I said, a bit of boxing. The one punch that I'm really enjoying is a left hook right now. I remember telling David Chan that my left hook kind of feels like it's a boxer size technique. Like, I'm really just throwing it just for the sake of throwing a punch, and it felt really, like I said, I should be on aerobics Oz style or something, doing a really lame sort of presentation. But he's really teaching me how to, extend with that straight and kind of throw that. The power comes from, throwing that arm back, you know what I mean? The straight and pulling it back, and the whole twist in the body. I'm really loving throwing the hooks at the moment.
Yep.
And in terms of jiu-jitsu, mate, I've had the same game for the last 10 years. Boringly, there's nothing much that I'm working on in my jiu-jitsu. It's safety stick, mate. Jiu-jitsu is all safety stick.
Yeah. So, all right, with your jiu-jitsu, is there anything that you don't want anyone to know is a weak part of your game?
I'm horrible if I get stuck in your guard.
Okay.
So if you're on your back and I'm in your guard,
yeah,
and I'll be there for the whole 6 minutes.
All right.
I can't really move from there. So if you get me there, there's a good chance you're going to throw up some triangles or some arm bars, because I'm sticking there.
So guard pullers are your nemesis.
Why not?
Awesome. Well, one of the, I suppose, we'll come up to the end of this this interview. But one of the main things that I wanted to get out of this is, like, what are you most passionate about in life, but also in fighting and just overall. What would you say? And it's a two-part question. So, the first part is open slather. Let us know what you're most passionate about.
Definitely family.
Yep.
My wife and my kids, my 2 boys, mean everything and anything to me. My parents and my friends, all that sort of stuff. So pretty much everything that I'm doing with XFC is for the family. So every dollar that we make goes towards a holiday or toys or anything for the kids. Anytime we can put on an incredible event, I want my friends and family to come and watch it and enjoy their night as well. So definitely the passion side of things is all things to do with just creating an awesome event for everyone that I love to kind of be involved in.
Yep.
And providing an opportunity for fighters. Again, I know that sounds like the whole cliched sort of thing, but I love the fact that there are photos now and belts that people have got around their waist and medals around their neck that they can show their kids in 10 years' time or 20 years' time to say, hey, look, dad or mum was a cage fighter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? he was crazy enough to jump in there, and she was crazy enough to fight someone, all that sort of stuff. So, and even things like when we went to the Metro Sports Centre, which was a horrific financial decision in the long run for us, that would still be one of my greatest memories. You know, there was still a show where we lost, I think it was $16,000 on one show, and the photos though bring back so many incredible memories.
Yeah.
And when we had 1,800 people there, it happened a year ago as well today, or maybe 2 years. And I was looking at the fight card that was on there, and the amount of celebrity fighters and the UFC fighters that were in the crowd that were taking photos with the fans. Like, that show cost me 16 grand to watch the fight. $16,000 for that ticket.
That's a ticket.
That's a ticket, yeah. So, yeah, just the memories that come from it. You know, like again, as much as I to some extent regret going to the Logan Metro Sports Centre, we did it. It was a bucket list thing. I wanted to go to a big grandstand type situation. I love the photos. I love the setup. I love the experience. Yeah. So again, the fact that fighters got to fight in such an arena, was worth it. You know. So, and again, luckily I had a real estate office at the time, so just went and sold a house or two and kind of paid that off. But yeah, and lucky enough, haven't lost money since because we've learned from that. But yeah, the passion's all about giving people an opportunity to kind of jump in there and show them what they do.
Yeah, excellent. So, sounds like legacy is a big part of what you're passionate about.
Yeah, like as much as you want to make out that you're not doing it for yourself, it is nice to get the thanks and all that sort of stuff. And again, I'm really passionate, and you'll see fighters that you know that you've bent over backwards for. You know, you've done so much for them and given them absolutely everything. And then a year later, you'll see a post on one of their Facebooks to another promoter saying, "Oh, best show I've ever fought for." And it breaks your heart. You're like, "Come on, mate, I did everything for you." You know, I mean, I thought we had an incredible time together. I was special, you know. So things like that, the emotional attachment is something that's really important.
Yeah, cool.
But again, yeah, I really love seeing the journeys that these fighters go on, and yeah, growing into really professional athletes is pretty special for us.
Yeah, see, awesome. Now, is there anything that that maybe I should have been asking you that you want me to ask you, or is there anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
Geez, what is there? Not really. You know, like XFC, I would love to say that we're back.
Yep.
You know, last year was a speed bump for XFC, but the feeling that we got from XFC's 44 before we had to pull the pin was really something special. You know, it really reminded us of what XFC 27 was like when we ran our first show.
Yeah, awesome.
So I was really excited to be back. And not as if we're not exactly working on anything differently, because again, I think promoting 101 is really just get a venue, get a cage, a doctor, and fights.
Yep.
The rest are all things that people don't really know what goes on, and we won't tell them those secrets to what actually makes it happen. But we're really going to have a show next time, you know. And the kind of easiest way to explain it is, again, about 10 years ago, I went to America and I watched I think I was in Florida, and I watched a Florida Marlins game, baseball. And it was so boring. You know, we literally just watched them play baseball. And then later on in that trip, we then went to a Yankees game, and it was a concert. Every single in between innings, was a concert. You know, so I kind of want that experience. I want, when people leave XFC, for them to not say how good were the fights. I want them to say how good was XFC, how good was that show.
Yeah.
You know, so in between fights, in between rounds, I want people to be. It's an exaggeration, but I want them up dancing. I want them up cheering. You know, I want them up making noise in between fights. It's not just when people are getting punched and kicked that they're excited.
Yeah.
So we've got some cool MCs. We've got some cool things going on for the next show.
Yeah, cool.
Where it's going to be an experience. It's not just the fights you're coming for anymore.
Yeah.
You're coming for the experience. And we're really looking forward to showing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I suppose xfcaustralia.com.au. You know, get on that page. Check it out. Like the Facebook page, like the Instagram. Is the YouTube going to be kicking off when all this kicks back? I mean, I can see that there has been stuff in the past. Any of your social media?
So we were lucky too that only about a month or two ago, we just went and uploaded about 4 shows that were sitting in the bank, just in the library, that hadn't been uploaded to the public. So I think from XFC 39 to 44 has now been added as well.
Yeah, cool.
So I'm pretty sure that all of our fights date all the way back to like XFC 16 or 17.
Yeah,
or something
awesome.
like that. So we do have footage from like the XFC 1s through to 5. But they're all on like those little tiny tapes. So we're trying to find a wizard that can kind of put them from the tape to digital format at the moment.
Yeah, cool.
So hopefully we can grab even like Robert Whittaker's fight from his XFC debut was on those tapes. So if we can grab that and show the public those fights, that'd be pretty special to us.
Yeah, sweet. Well, I'll put all the links in the description below, so people.
Yeah, pretty much everything's XFC Australia except for YouTube. It's XFC TV.
Yep.
So
awesome. So look, the final question is just a one-word answer. You know, I'm going to do this, I think, for every guest on it. What do you fight for? One word.
One word. Competition.
Okay. Awesome.
Competitive. I'm not sure if that's the same word, but yeah, I'd say competitive.
Yep.
Just, and I know I'm using more than one word right now. I hate one of my favorite sayings is I hate losing more than I like winning.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But if I win, I don't worry about it, but I hate losing. So that's me. Awesome.
All right, brother. Well, thanks for the chat. That's awesome. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I look forward to catching up in person again.
Yeah, mate. You've asked me a couple of questions. Do I get to know who you've got on your hit list for who you're going to interview as well?
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. So I'm going to be speaking with Joel from Coastal Combat, probably Dane Ouchin. I actually end of last year, I did a interview with Matthew Thompson as well, and then that actually fell through. And apologies to Matt. He came up here from Toowoomba and we sat down and we had a good old chat, and then some personal issues got in the way. But I've got Jennifer, the ring girl, and I've got so many. It's I put out a call just after I spoke to you because I thought, I'll get in touch with you first, and you know, obviously we've got a good relationship, and I thought, well, I'll copy and paste that to a range of people, and yeah, ended up getting a really good response. So I figure I kick it off with your interview, and you know, it's good to catch up with you as well because we haven't spoken in a few months. So yeah, I thought as well it's going to be a great opportunity to catch up with friends who I haven't spoken to for a long while, and
I love the platform. You know, I think a lot of people ask the generic questions, but I've really liked the lining of your questions and more of the mental side of things about why people are involved in the fight game, which is what I love about the sport. So, mate, if I can ask for some recommendations, I'd love to see you get, you know, guys like Adrian Pang.
Yeah.
A guy like Adrian Pang is an absolute superstar in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, true.
But unfortunately, in Australia, where MMA is still a cage fighting, backyard brawl type industry, guys and champions like Adrian Pang aren't getting the exposure that he really deserves in this country. And guys like Chris Hazeman. But I watched UFC 200 at one of Chris Hazeman's friends' house, and Chris Hazeman and Ian Jacobs were there. And I tell you what, we literally, once that was over, I couldn't wait for UFC 200 to be finished so we could sit down and have a barbecue with Chris Hazeman and talk about stories of him fighting Matt Hughes and Fedor Emelianenko and all those other phenomenal dudes as well. But and just randomly like Jackson Small. Like I'd love to get a guy like Jackson Small on again, you know, now that he's hopefully returning back to training, and Isaac Hardman, you know, like these guys that are just wired fighters, you know, like just to kind of really find out their mental side of things. So, but mate, if I could ask you for any sort of favour, I'd love to get a guy like Adrian Pang on and get you to pick his brain and hear some stories from him. Yeah,
cool. Well, the beauty of it is you actually introduced me. I'd seen Adrian around the traps, obviously, and you introduced me to him, and I actually used to work with Chris Hazeman. I did a little bit of digital marketing for him a few years back. So yeah, I'm you know, I know that your list is probably even more extensive than than I could ever hope for. So I really appreciate a you coming on, b you know the suggestions, and yeah, if they are watching this, please do get in touch. I'll also try and get their details off you if that's all right.
Yeah, mate, for sure. I'll make sure I tag and give them a little poke as well that people want to hear their voices. And like I said, mate, I love the sound of my own voice. If there's any chance to jump on a video and talk some rubbish, I'm always up for it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you getting on this today, and yeah, I'm looking forward to XFC being back to strength, and you know, fights happening, and I can be on the sideline like I have been in the past.
The cage side seat that you always grab. So, mate, you're always there.
Awesome. Well, good to chat, bro, and we'll definitely catch up soon.
Brilliant. Thanks, buddy. Chat soon.
Much love, man. Cheers.
The one tip that she gave us when she looked at our business is that if Facebook doors tomorrow, what would our business look like? And made us realize, yeah, 95% of our promotion and work
Welcome to BarbecuePitBoys.com. Today we're grilling up some steak, bacon, and sea scallops.